what point does this erupt into something worse? There's that line in Network where he's giving the Mad as Hell speech. Have you seen this? It's an iconic movie. And he describes the people at home watching it. He says that they have this line that he says where it's, please just leave me alone. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radials, and I won't say anything. Just leave me alone. That's, I feel like, what these people are at, where they've accepted that, like, I don't get to have the rules that I want. I don't get to have the society I want. I don't get to have politics I want. Or I don't get to go to get to see the Christmas display on the town hall lawn or anything. That's all fine. Please just let me sit in my house and consume my consumer goods and not be bombarded with what they view as, these alien ways of life that are totally antithetical to everything I was. Like, I've retreated into my own home. My kids aren't allowed to pray in school. I can't wear a hat that says Make America Great Again, or I'm considered some sort of a Klansman. Can I just sit at home and turn on the TV and watch a football game or consume things? Can I at least do that? No, because everything has to be politicized. Everything. And this isn't just the politicization of everything, it's the dumb politicization of everything. I think there's a great case to be made against papering the American flag on everything. The problem is that case is not being made. There's a case to say, imperialism and the American flag and this and what it represents, and jingoism and a blind, vapid, empty kind of patriotism where you violate the flag code and put stars and stripes on your beer can, and then you pretend that that's like the height of what Thomas Jefferson would have done. But it's this other thing where it's just, well, I don't like the American flag for the same reason that you do like it, which is an empty aesthetic reaction. You like it because to you it symbolizes beer and defeating the Nazis. And I don't like it because to me it symbolizes you, and I don't like you.
Yes.
I don't like middle American people. So I don't like that they cling to their little flag, and it's like, well, why do they get to have that? Well, it's all they have left.
What did Barack Obama say?
They cling to their flag and their guns and their Bible and their flag. The war is not against the flag or
it's
about
against you.
It's against you. It's against the bitter clingers or whatever. And again, we're not bitter clingers. We're people. We're these sort of libertarian types who
we've ascended above it all.
We've ascended above it all. I'm not saying there should be military parades and American flags at the NFL games. I would love a world where we're debating that and saying, why do we have this creepy display of nationalism on our sneakers and all these other things? That's not the argument. We don't even know what the argument was. All we know is Colin Kaepernick vaguely didn't like it, so now it's a hate symbol. It's dumb. It's dumbness on a level that I can't even believe that we're actually dealing with this.
Man, that would be a great way to close us out. But unfortunately, or fortunately, we have another article that goes right into that too.
Yes.
Speaking of people being radicalized, this is where we're going across the pond, as they say, to discuss a man named Roy Larner, the Lion of London Bridge. For those of you who don't remember this, because it was a terror attack that happened outside of the United States, and I think less than 10 people died. Terrorists were on the London Bridge. They were attacking people with knives and machetes, and one of them was fought off with the guy's bare fists because he was doing like a pub crawl, like after a soccer game. And then he was walking across the bridge, saw a guy who was like stabbing people. And so Roy Larner like just decided, oh, okay, it's time then. And just fist fought the guy. And he got stabbed a bunch of times, but he was able to subdue the guy. And he probably saved like at least half a dozen people from continuing to be killed. He's now been added to a terror watch list in England because they're afraid that he could become an anti-Islam extremist after being stabbed at least 7 times by a Muslim. They're afraid that he might have some unduly negative feelings after that.
Yeah.
Britain's Islamophobia industry of ostensibly right-wing people who believe that Islam is the greatest threat to English traditions like gay pride parades and feminism. They where, they were trying to get him to speak at events. They were trying to get him to, to join their stuff. And it seems like he hasn't really been part of that circuit. He hasn't been doing the Tommy Robinson speaking circuit. He ended up actually, after being in the hospital for like 2 weeks and getting 80 stitches, he had illegal painkillers, which, you'd think he wouldn't need since, healthcare is free in England. You'd think a man who sustained multiple knife wounds during a terror attack, fighting a terrorist, wouldn't have any trouble getting painkillers for the pain, but no, he ended up needing to get them. One incident that he did have, apparently, was they say he spit on a black photographer while yelling about foreigners who stink like shit, which is, unambiguously racist. But right-wing extremism, that is not. They're making him take de-radicalization classes.
Jesus.
So aside from this one thing, which was, it was an act of assault, and it was indeed a hate crime assault when you spit on a black photographer and yell about foreigners. It doesn't really get more clear-cut than that. This is not the kind of thing that makes you a right-wing radical. That just makes you the kind of guy that gets drunk after soccer games, so drunk that you start punching terrorists in the face.
Is there any more quintessentially English story than this? Like, man is attacked. How is he attacked again?
He's stabbed by terrorists.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect. Man is stabbed, and don't worry, we are putting him in re-education so that he won't become anti-Islamic.
Right.
Like, that was their takeaway. We're approaching the point where you go to England, you get stabbed, and someone comes up to you and says, "Oi, mate, you got a license gaping chest wound?"
I remember, too, I believe it was a London Bridge, too, I had seen a video of, it's going to be tough for me to find it. It was a video of a bunch of people who were cowering under, like, they were in, like, a Starbucks or some kind of other coffee shop, and they were cowering under the table because there were terrorist attack happening outside. You could hear people screaming, and one person was recording the event, and then one person shouted out something like, fucking Muslim cunts, and the people in the coffee shop who were themselves cowering from the same terror attack, they went from, like, their sort of huddled sort of, whimpering to shouting at him, saying, "It wasn't fucking Muslims, mate. You don't know that. Jesus." And they started calling him a racist in the middle of a terror attack
Priorities.
that was indeed being perpetrated by Muslims. I mean...
Well, this just shows, like, the level of... I don't know if you want to call it white guilt or what you want to call it. It's this weird, deranged kind of religion where you're being physically attacked, and in that moment, your physical safety doesn't matter. It's like that line from Clue, where the guy is coming around door to door giving the pamphlets for his religious cult, and it's the distinction between your lives are in danger and your souls are in danger. Only a religious person that thinks that way. A materialist, non-religious person thinks my life is more important than my life. But in that moment, their life was in danger, but more important was their moral authority as good people who, don't subscribe to capital H, hate, or capital B, bigotry.
But see, it wasn't even them. It wasn't even like it wasn't like one guy said it and then felt bad and apologized. They were angry at him.
That's what I mean. They were angry at him because the terrorists put their life in danger, but he just put their soul in danger. Because by saying something, they might have agreed with it or they might have not called it out. And then they die and they go to heaven and Black Jesus says, "Why is it that you didn't make a comment about that guy that made an Islamophobic remark? Did you?"
I noticed during this Islamic terror attack, somebody made an Islamophobic. Do you have a problem with Muslims?
It's not going to go well for them. And they're before I don't know what they imagine, what their version of Judgment Day is. I think it exists in the real life, not post-death. But the point is they value that moral authority more than they value their life. I
mean, I would imagine for these people, their judgment be after the revolution, when it's time for the purges.
Yeah. For them, Judgment Day is like...
Judgment Day is a Stalinist trial.
It's a political thing. It's a Stalinist show trial or something. From Dark Knight Rises, where Bane is having those convened courts. Mm-hmm. That's what Judgment Day looks like for them. It's not at the gate of St. Peter or something. It's right here in the here and now.
The guillotines in front of Buckingham Palace.
Exactly. And that's just That's a little glimpse of, anytime we get these news stories from England, it's like dispatches from the future.
Yep.
And they're grim. I have seen the future, and it sucks.
Yep. And so, that said, happy Independence Day, everybody. Until next time, I'm Marcel.
And I'm Dan.
And this was The Moral Minority.
Cue Richard Nixon.
Let us be united for peace. Let us also be united against defeat.